welcome to the Happy Half Hour, part two. So we're going to complete this half hour. We got off the last episode, jumped right on this episode so we can make a happy hour out of two episodes in the same day. It's Steve-O Hayes with Mojo. What's up, Steve-O?
What's going on, Joe? That was some good conversation, and it made me feel a lot better about it. In fact, even before we went live, just your words to me, and that's what we talked about in the last episode. We're very. It's easy to go negative, but it's a natural to go negative. We tend to do that, period, and so we shouldn't beat ourselves up when we go negative,
Right.
but we need to disrupt that. And I beat myself up a lot. Joe, or do you beat yourself up? I don't think you beat yourself up like I beat myself up. You've always been that's one reason I always liked hanging out with you. Even when I met you in college, I'm like, I like this kid because you were a couple years younger than me, right? So I was probably my third junior year at that point. I can't remember when you showed up, but you were always so positive. I like to hang out with positive people because honestly, I need that in my life. Now I know why, because ants. Automatic negative thoughts. We talked about it in the last episode. It's what naturally comes to us. So one of my answers to that over the years has been find positive people, find fun people, find happy people, find people that have a strength that's my weakness, and hopefully it will rub off on you. And I found for a lot of my life, it really has rubbed off. Just because I hang out with someone negative doesn't mean I'm uber organized now. If I hang out with and they're organized, or just because I hang out with them happy and I'm uber happy, but I am happier. I am more organized. I have become a better person because of the people that I hang out with. And Joe, you're one of those people. And so my question I was asking was, if I beat myself up a lot, but Joe, you don't appear to beat yourself up as much as me. If that is the case, how do you get away with that? I mean, how does that not happen to you? Because I would like to know.
Sure. That's a great question. And before I get into my answer, I want to point out some of the dynamics right here in that question. And this is not just for you and for me, but for anybody who tunes in, is that there's this saying that's gone around for a long time that says comparison is the thief of joy. And I've decided that's not exactly true. Comparing myself to somebody else may or may not make me feel better or worse until I make a judgment about that. Right? It's not the comparison that is the thief of joy. It's the judgment. And it's not just the judgment like, are you better at something than I am? Because we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, but are you a better person? Are you worth more? Are you, am I worth less? Not worthless, but am I worth less than anybody else just because they have a different strength than I do, a different weakness? So,
And honestly, to throw something in the tack on that to that too,
yeah.
is oftentimes when it comes to comparison, the problem is why I'm comparing.
Yes.
I'm often comparing because I'm feeling bad about myself because I've had those automatic negative thoughts, like we talked about in last episode. I have those negative thoughts going, I'm not worth as much. I'm kind of a loser. I'm kind of a whatever the case may be, right? So I want to find somebody else that does that well. And so I'm comparing my weaknesses because I want to be more happy. So I find someone who's happy and I'm not being happy. So then I'm comparing them. I'm comparing my weakness to their strengths, and it's apples to oranges, and it isn't fair. And you're never going to come out. And of course, that's going to steal your happy every time. So go back to finishing that thought you had, Joe, because I liked where you're going.
Yeah, boy, and just the illustration came to mind real quick. I heard or read somewhere today that when a pilot's flying over somewhere and he sees some kids down on the street that are playing, and they're just having a good time, he's like, man, wouldn't it be great just to be a kid again and to be able to play? And the kids down on the street are looking up saying, wouldn't it be great to be a pilot? Right? I wish I could fly. And it's just, by the way, this is a great segue from last episode, automatic negative thoughts. The automatic negative thoughts are the comparison of my life to yours, my strengths to your weaknesses, my weakness to your strength, and then saying, I wish I were you. By the way, the only way, we've talked about this before, the only way you have the life that you love is to love the life you have. Yeah. And if I wish I was Steve, I wish I had somebody else's strength, somebody else. If I was on the ground wishing I was a pilot, or I'm a pilot wishing I was on the ground playing as a kid, I'm wishing that I had someone else's life. And so I can never love the life I have. And I mean, I will never have the life I love until I love the life that I have. Yeah. So that's the first thing that really goes into what Steve was saying, because it felt like underneath the question of, Joe, it doesn't seem like you have as many negative thoughts as I do. You don't beat yourself up as often as I do, that there was a tendency to be a judgment right behind that. So, so that I wish I were you. I wish I was like you, or whatever it is. And here's what I would say is that everybody, according to science, not according to mojo, everybody has the automatic negative thoughts. It's built into our system. We have a negativity bias, which is for our survival. And yet we can override that. And so my answer to you is I think I have as many negative thoughts as anybody, but I've learned with practice how to interrupt the pattern faster, right? The ants are coming, the anthill is there, the negative thoughts are there that will point out what I don't have, what I wish I have somebody else, and all the judgments. But I recognize them quicker. So I get out the leaf blower as soon as possible, right? Oh, here comes the ants
Right.
again, right? Blow them away with gratitude, with being counting the blessings that I do have, phone a friend, all the things we talked about in the last episode. I just recognize the pattern quicker and interrupt the pattern quicker, and so it doesn't allow the ants to to march for quite as long through my mind. Does that make sense?
Right. By the way, Awesome Mary is on TikTok, and she said, "Can you turn your volume down on your TikTok?"
Oh,
I don't know
let's
if
see.
that's making a difference there or not. Could be why
Mine's
we.
mine's off.
Yeah, so mine's off too. She said she can't understand me. Anyway, I'm not. I guess we're not going. You can join us on chatmosa.com.
Right.
Um, and I here's something else too. Correct me if I'm wrong, Joe, but here's a thought that came to my mind as you're talking about that. Yeah, you throw the leaf down faster when the ants are marching in a row and a leaf drops in front of them from A Bug's Life or It's an Ant's Life or whatever that movie was back in the day. They all stopped and they freaked out. What do we do with this ant? And what do we do with this? And a leaf is a small thing. It's gigantic. So when we have negative thoughts, oftentimes we're having negative thoughts on things that just aren't that big of a deal. But Joe, you said that you don't beat yourself up because you're tempted to do that, but you've learned how to throw that leaf down. You've learned how to throw a gratitude down or a positive thought down or throw something else down that's a pattern interrupt. Those ants that just keep marching two by two, hurrah, hurrah. They just keep marching. So you got to interrupt those negative thoughts at some point by throwing something positive down. If you just try to stop those negative thoughts from happening, they're going to kick your butt, right?
Sure.
So
Yep.
you stop them by throwing a leaf down, just a small thought that says, I am, I can, I will. Those are three of them right there that Joe said is something positive for us to talk about on the regular. I am, I can, I will. But Joe, I wonder if one reason why you're so good is because of all the crap. You've gone through some serious stuff that no human should ever have to go through. And that is a very negative thing that can be seen as a very negative thing. And trust me, it's a very difficult life that you had to endure and go through. And yet you came through on the other side and you have learned because of that difficulty. You have learned how to pattern disrupt. You have learned not to beat yourself up. You would think the opposite is true. But Joe, you have learned how to survive, not even just survive, how to thrive, how to throw that leaf down, how to stop the negativity from happening. Is that true? Is that one reason why, or the reason why you
Yeah.
don't beat yourself up so much?
Well, I don't think there's any one reason. There's lots of reasons, but I certainly think this is a huge influence. And so, yeah, without getting into all the details of what I've endured, I would say, and you used the word because of, right? Not in spite of, but because of the stuff that I've gone through, and stuff you could use the other S word for that, the
Yeah, you're
stuff
good.
I've gone through. But
Happens.
what I've found out over time is that stuff, right, becomes fertilizer. This is true in nature, by the way. The crap in time can become fertilizer where it becomes a fertile soil. And I think probably the greatest illustration about going through trauma that made sense to me because I lived in Hawaii for a little bit was we went on this hike one night on an active volcano flow. And so it wasn't blowing out the top, but it was flowing underground, and there was lava tubes. And the park ranger took us out onto a live lava flow. So the lava was actually flowing under our feet, but it's all
Wow.
crusted. It's hard on top.
Crazy.
But he said that the lava right below our feet is, I don't know, 20,000 degrees, and it's not very far down. And he kicks the crust with his heel of his boot and breaks the crust. And there's like a torch of
No
heat
way.
and flame that comes up like that. And I was like, "Can I try that?" He's like, "Well, yes, but of course you don't want to leave your foot in the hole." So I'm wearing tennis shoes, and I slam it with my heel, and sure enough, this torch of flame and heat comes through. So the lava's right below us, right? But the point was that the park ranger was talking about how nothing can stop lava. Lava is super destructive. It takes out everything in its way. Nothing man made can slow it down or stop it. It destroys everything. And then years later, my wife and I went to visit Hawaii, and we're hiking through this beautiful rainforest. It's actually called a cloud forest because the clouds form around the volcano. And this ranger was pointing out how some of the ferns and some of the animals that are there that thrive on this volcano now don't grow anywhere else in the world. And I was asking, well, why not? And the guy says, well, the soil from the lava over time is the most nutrient rich soil on the planet. Stuff comes up from underneath the planet, comes out to the surface, and at first it destroys everything, and eventually it becomes the only place where certain beautiful things can grow. And I
Hmm.
start crying, right? Tears streaming down my face because at some time in my life, the lava was flowing and it was destroying me, right? It was just like a bulldozer. Just there's nothing I could do to stop it. And over time, it took a long time, years, decades. Eventually got help. I got some understanding, lots of prayer, did a lot of work. I had to become my own advocate. I went through a whole bunch of stuff. But what I learned in that process was that the same lava that destroyed so much inside of me over time became the nutrient rich soil where something could grow that might not have grown any other way. And I think this is such an amazing, this isn't just my story. This is the human possibility. There's a book I read, Steve, called Anti-Fragile, that talks about how any given human, when something really traumatic happens, they can be crushed because they're fragile. They can endure it because they've got grit, right? And we often celebrate that. He said, but there's also a possibility of becoming anti-fragile, which is a word he made up because he couldn't find a good word for it. And he titled his book. Anti-fragile means that after all the crap and the stress and the trauma you go through, it's not just that you made it, it's that you're stronger, you're better because of it, not in spite of it, but because of it. And I would say I didn't want what happened to me to happen, and wasn't grateful for it at the time. But looking back now, I think you're exactly right. I think you nailed it, Steve, is that because of what I've endured, and then my faith and my friends and my family and time and healing and therapists and blah blah blah, it's become that destructive force has become the nutrient rich soil where something has grown up inside of me where, you know what, I have a perspective now, and when the negative thoughts come, I'm like, flick, no thanks. Don't need you, bye bye. You have nothing on me, right? Nothing. You cannot disrupt me.
Wow. I think what we do with, like, for instance, I had a bunch of yard waste. I had a bunch of grass clippings, and I put it in a secondary trash can because my one was full, and I forgot about it being in there. So it was in there a long time. I lifted the lid and it stunk, man. And it was just grass clippings, but over time, and that dark thing, it stunk. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, it's fertilizer, right? So I stirred it up, turned it over, I let it sit a little bit longer, and then I put it out on my lawn, thinking, dude, awesome, free fertilizer. That stuff is expensive. Burned my lawn, Joe. It burned my lawn. It took me, in fact, it wasn't until this year, years later, years and years later, I had to hire someone to come in and overseed my lawn for me because I've tried that myself. The soil was just so trash. I thought I was doing it a favor. You know, the same as with the lava. When the lava's coming out at 20,000 degrees or whatever it is, you don't just walk out there and go, "Hey, this is soil. This is rich soil. I should try to plant a tree." Like that's going to happen.
Right,
But
right.
as the air cooled that over time, over that cool air coming over that formed a crust, even though there's lava still down. And I think it's something to say about us. That's like kind of like the anti-fragile, is that we can build this crust over if we allow the cool air to combine with that heat of tribulation, that heat of turbulence, that heat of difficulty. And even when it comes to fertilizer, they have to, I don't know anything about this, but you can't just throw the crap on the lawn. It's going to burn the lawn. You have to do something with it to prepare it, to get it ready to put on the lawn. And the same is true because there might be people out there going, well, crap happened to me and nothing ever grew out of it.
Yeah.
My life is just nothing but burning sulfur. All I smell is sulfur. My clothes smell like sulfur. My life smells like sulfur. It's what we do with that lava. We have to allow the cool current, the cool air, the cool of friends, of family, of the positive thoughts, the whatever, when it comes to the fertilizer, all the crap that happens to us, we have to mix it a certain way. We have to let it set and ruminate for a while. We have to do something with it. And Joe, you could have given up. You could have said, and no one would have blamed you. You could have said, this is happening again. Something else is happening. Are you kidding me? You had every right to quit, but you didn't. And that's why you are the person that you are today. That's why you're life coaching people. You're helping people because you did something with the crap that happened to you. And I don't know if you got any ideas of some things that we could do. I don't want to take over the conversation here, but are there some things that we can do when crap happens, when the lava, when life is so hot that we can barely stand to be around, and when we smell like sulfur, so to speak? What are some things that we can do to prepare that crap to make it fertilizer and not just a bunch of stinky
Yeah,
what?
it's a beautiful question, and I think the first thing is awareness. And this is I think this is the gateway to all change is awareness, because if I'm in denial or if I'm just oblivious to the fact that there's stuff going haywire, well, then of course nothing's going to change. But I think right behind that, and maybe it's even side by side, is a belief system. So Henry Ford said this famous quote: "If you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right, because your belief system will guide your thoughts, your actions, your words, your feelings. Right? Your belief system determines the quality of your life in many ways, because you'll find reasons, you'll find what's a confirmations to your beliefs.
Confirmation bias. Yep.
Confirmation bias,
Yep.
right? So here's what I want to throw into the conversation here, Steve, is that I never lost faith to believe that that lava that mowed me down could turn into fertile soil. I didn't understand it yet, but I didn't give up. As you said, I didn't just quit, throw in the towel, said, that's it, or I give up. It was a long term, over decades, belief system that said, well, I believe in a God that says all things are working together for your good. Actually, it says this: God will work all things together for good for those who love him, right? And I've been taught that since I was little. I memorized it in Bible quiz, right, as a little kid. But now where the rubber meets the road. So all things, even abuse, even the trauma, even the, you know, molestation, all this kind of stuff, that all things, you're working all things together for my good. But the misinterpretation of that is to say all things are good. No, what the scripture says is God will use all things, good, bad, and mundane, for my good. So, but sometimes that takes, not sometimes, often that takes time. It takes time to work itself through the system. So the lava doesn't become fertile soil overnight. Even the hard crust over the lava tubes where we were standing and the lava's flowing, that's you can't plant anything. Like you said, you can't put a seed there, it's going to burn up. But in time and with intention, you till the soil, you do all the stuff you got to do, then it becomes fertile soil. So, but to go back to my word belief, if you believe that even the bad things in your life, quote unquote bad things in your life, can become fertile soil for something really good, then it will. If you believe it can't, if you believe it's only destructive, then it won't, because you'll create the life that you believe, right? You'll see all the confirmations to your bias. But the great thing about that is it's not a death sentence, because our beliefs are in flux. Our beliefs are always changing if we allow them to. So the picture in my mind, Steve, is like, take a little clover, a four-leaf clover, and on the leaves you have thoughts, feelings, actions, and words. Those are the four leaves. And the stem up to those leaves that carries the nutrients is your belief system. Whatever I believe is going to produce itself through my thoughts, my
It's
feelings,
what's going to feed my thoughts, my
yeah,
feelings, my what were the four again? Thoughts,
thoughts,
feelings,
feelings, actions, and words.
and so what I believe feeds that. So if I feed it, oh my, that's boy.
But what are the beliefs planted in, right? The beliefs, the stem goes down into the soil, where the soil is my experiences and my education, and also what I would call epiphanies, because I like the E's. Epiphanies is like words from God or aha moments or things that I didn't experience, I wasn't taught, but they come to me through that knower that we all have, that intuition. And I'm saying, here's the cool part: if my beliefs are showing themselves through my actions, my thoughts, my words, and my feelings. If my actions, my thoughts, my words, and my feelings are not healthy, how do I change those? I don't change them by changing the leaves. I change the stem of my beliefs by putting in a different soil. Now, I can't change my experience, but I can change my belief in whether that experience is going to be for my benefit or not.
Yeah.
I can't change I can change my education, right? I can add on to my education, and I can pray for epiphanies where I get these aha moments like, oh, I never saw it that way before.
Yeah.
So you got to change the soil if you want to change the fruit, right?
That's so good. That is really good. That is really good, Joe.
It's something to consider because I don't know. My opinion, Steve-O, is that oftentimes um, the advice we get is often about how to change your thoughts, your actions, your words, and your feelings, not connecting that to that's all stems from your belief system. Oops, you lost your light.
Oh, I
And,
did.
and your belief system is coming out of your experiences, coming out of your education, it's coming
Right.
out of your epiphanies. And so rather than spending my time trying to change the leaves on my little four leaf clover, which are only going to keep growing back exactly the same if I don't change the stem, then I realize, I got to go deeper. I got to dig deeper, literally deeper into what are my beliefs and where are they coming from. And thankfully, those are all changeable.
Yep.
All right, we have a couple little technical issue here. Steve-O's, I think his batteries went dead. So, hey, look at that. You light up my life.
To me, these two go hand in hand. I want to tag in what you're talking about. It
Please do.
isn't as difficult as we think it is to
Right, right.
replant the plant. All you have to do is put it in something that's positive. Search a video online. Find a positive book. Find a friend or person who's positive. Give out what you need because you harvest what you plant. Right choices always bring right feelings. So make a right choice. To take that four-leaf clover out of that, you got to take it out of that pot and put it
Right,
in something else. My other thought, and it's not hard to do.
right.
My other thought is this. Give me a second to remember it again. My other thought is, shoot, my brain is, ever since I started working there, my brain isn't all quite working. So number one, it's not difficult to do. It's not hard to change that and put it in a different pot.
Yeah.
I can't remember the other one.
Well,
It'll
that's okay.
probably
The other,
come to me
the
in a
other one
minute.
may come to you, but so this is also a theme of our happy half hour is that sometimes you don't have the energy, the wherewithal, or the belief that you can get yourself out of the soil that you're stuck in, right? So this is where we talk about almost every episode now. Ask a friend, ask for help, find someone who's done it before you. Now this someone who's done it before you, they might not be readily accessible to you. So you can find, as Steve said, you can find coaches with really great stories and advice online at the snap of a finger. Ask Chat GPT for that matter. But if the great advice that you're receiving, which is the education piece of your soil, you just can't find the wherewithal to implement it, that's when you ask a friend. I mean, you can hire Steve-O and I to be a life coach, a pastor, a therapist, a really good friend, or just a mentor or a guide who's gone through it themselves or gone through something similar to say, here's what I did. And as Tony Robbins often says, success leaves clues. So it might be someone who has passed away thousands of years ago and they happen to write down into a book like a Stoicism or the Bible or whatever your book of choice is. There are people who have gone through the human experience and they found a way to change their belief system. So they got a different outcome. Viktor Frankl's, as we talk about often, Man's Search for Meaning, and they can inspire us to say that's another human being who started out as a baby just like I did, and they found a way to take the horrors of their life. Viktor Frankl, for instance, who went through the concentration camp and found a way to see the world a different way. So then, how am I going to do that? Well, I just need to see through their eyes for a little bit until I can realize, well, that can be true for me as well.
Yeah. In fact, in some ways, our thoughts, the negative ones that started in episode one, were automatic negative thoughts, the ants that come in one by one, just keep following each other in line after line after all those negative thoughts. They come at us. They do us a favor. When I'm having negative thoughts, when my words are negative, my feelings are negative. What was the fourth leaf that you're talking about?
Actions.
Actions.
Mhm.
Actions. When those are negative, they're doing us a favor. They're saying, "Wait a minute,
Mhm.
I'm planted in the wrong pot right now." And it's not like a whole lifestyle thing, like I'm in the wrong. No, it's real easy. It's a day by day thing. Sometimes it's a minute by minute thing. And the thing that I was going to say earlier is that for me, to be positive, to we have to do something with the fertilizer, right? we have to do something with to prepare it to be able to use it. And doggone it, if it didn't slip my mind again, oh my word, oh my word. I think I have some timers. Um, Shoot.
It's all good.
Well, what I'm saying is that when you plan it in a they're doing us a favor. They're saying, "Wait a minute, I'm planted in the wrong environment right now." And
That's
if
right.
we watch a bunch of news, or we watch a bunch of social media, or we hang around people that are negative and they're biting and they're firing things off at us, we need to make sure that we can get our mind, our heart, our spirit into something positive. Don't be surprised if you find yourself angry, if you're listening to angry stuff all the time. And don't get me wrong, anger is good. Anger is created. It's a healthy. There's things that we should be angry at, right? But when it's overall, we're always angry. We're always. It's not hard to just listen to something else, to just look at something else, to just call a friend, to phone a friend, to do something else, and that kind of changes the whole negative. And it's over time, the lava didn't sit there and try to create. It's not like working really hard, like the tree is like, I gotta make myself a cherry. No, it doesn't. I like the whole idea. You don't cut off the leaves, right? That's what I was doing. We started last episode with me going, man, I'm just not, man, I'm having negative thoughts. Why am I beating myself up so much? Why am I so negative all the time? And so I'm trying to change that by cutting off those negative thoughts. I'm gonna be positive. I'm gonna be positive. No, I opened up to you, Joe, because you asked me a question, and immediately I got a bunch of positivity back. And you showed me that automatic negative thoughts are automatic negative thoughts, and we all struggle with them. We all deal with them. We just got to throw down a pattern disruption. We got to throw down a leaf and stop those ants right in their track and just, I can, I am, I will. Those three statements that you talked about just a little bit ago. I can, at the last episode. I can, I am, I will. Or I am, I can, I will. These things are so important for our body to hear us say, for us to hear ourselves say, because you can, and you are, and you will. You've gotten through it. You're still a survivor. You're still here. It's not too late. It's not different. It's a lifestyle. It's a style of life where we can learn to pattern disrupt the negative things. And after over time, the tree doesn't work so hard. The tree just hangs out with all that nutrients that's coming through it, and it naturally produces fruit. And over time, that terrible, hot, destructive lava turns into something very fertile, you know. And over time, those negative thoughts, when we learn to do with them what we do with them, we can turn out like Joe and not allow them to beat us up so much. But I think that's that was the thing I was going to say earlier, is that one of the things to do it is to not ignore it.
Mhm.
That was the thing I wanted to say that keeps slipping my mind. So it makes me wonder if there isn't something trying to
Mm,
make it slip my mind.
sure. Yeah.
One of the worst things we can do is ignore it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of the heat. I'm tired of the tribulation. I'm tired of all the crap. So I'm just going to ignore it. I'm tired of feeling like this way. So I'm just going to ignore it. I'm not paying attention. La, 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 la. It's not going away.
Right.
It's not going away. It's going to burn your lawn. You can't just throw that on your lawn like that. Fertilizer has to be done a certain way, right? It's still the same component. But if you just throw that crap out there, if you just try to ignore it, it's going to destroy you. Then it's going to just start to destroy your family, those people that are around you, people that are negative a lot, right? We all tend to get there negatively, but if we fight that, if we put pattern disruption down, good things come from that. If we don't, if we try to ignore it, it's called masking. And if I got a big old gouge in my arm, gash in my arm, and if I just put a bandage on and take Tylenol because I don't want someone to poke in there, I don't want the doctor to fix it. Well, I don't feel a thing, and I think I'm fine, right? But meanwhile, that's not getting any better. It's actually getting worse.
Mm,
Okay, and so we don't want to ignore the negative thoughts. We don't want to ignore. It's okay to lean into them. It's okay to say, "Wait a minute, why are my words negative right now? What am I planted in right now that's causing that?" And then find something else to put this moment in. Just put this moment in there. Be in the moment right now. Find a thing of gratitude, and that automatically takes the stem of your life and it plants it into something positive and something good.
mm. Yeah, I love what you said, Steve. Just wanted to cut the leaves off. If the leaves of our life are our words, our thoughts, our actions, and our feelings, you cut the leaf off, but you don't change the stem. guess what grows back? The
Yep.
exact same thoughts,
So good, Joe.
exact same feelings, the
That's
exact
so
same
good.
actions, the exact same words. If you don't change the stem, which is your beliefs, the same leaves are going to grow no matter how many times you cut them off. And by the way, your thoughts, your actions, your feelings, and your words are your expression of your humanity. Why do you want to cut those off? Right?
Wow. Can you say that again?
Yes. Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your words are your expression, your unique expression of your soul, of your humanity. So don't cut them off, right? That's who you are. And if you do,
Yeah.
they're going to grow right back exactly the same, unless you change the stem, as Steve said, and the soil. The soil again, education. Now you can change your education by who you're listening to. Steve talked about that. Your experience, and it's not that you can change your experience, but you can change the assignment of what it means. This is the Viktor Frankl idea. What I went through, I went through. I'm not going to deny that happened. But rather than being a victim, saying, "Look what happened to me. Woe was me. I'm, I'm sentenced to a lifetime of destruction." Say, "Okay, that happened. Now what? How do I turn this manure into fertilizer?" And then here's the third E I want to talk about just a little bit. And I use the word epiphany because it's kind of an idea of something that comes to me out of nowhere. It seems like it wasn't my education, it wasn't my experience. It was like
I like your you called it an aha moment. I
yeah,
like that for
yeah,
epiphany.
or a download. I like to call this a download. Sometimes I'm out golfing in the morning, as you know, Steve-O, and a thought just comes out of nowhere. I don't know where it comes from. Sometimes it comes from inside of me. Sometimes it seems like it comes from somewhere else. But a download like this epiphany moment, like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And I just want to encourage those who are listening to say, if you don't have a meditation practice, if you don't have intentional time alone, like downtime, where you are at peace with yourself, maybe you're in nature or with good music or whatever that is, or if you're not a person of prayer and worship, these type of things put you in a soil where you can receive the epiphanies, which changes, right, your belief system, which then will produce different thoughts, feelings, actions, and words. So cutting them off isn't going to help. They're just going to grow back exactly the same way. And those are an expression of who you are. But to change the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, and the words, you change your belief system by changing your assignment, the meaning of your experience, the education, which you can add at any time, and putting yourself in a place where you're open to hearing that still small voice that is inside of you all
And when you
times.
try to and when you ignore it and try to cut it off, my wife has a plant downstairs that is just like overtaking her desk. It's just going, and you know where she got it? Someone cut off a piece of a leaf and they gave it to her. They put it in water. She put it in water, and it grew naturally. So when we try to cut that negative stuff off, and like, I can't be this, and we just cut it off. And we want to ignore it. We want to bury it. Well, it grows somewhere else now. Now you just multiply the negativity. And I like what you said. Why would you want to cut those off anyway? Even the negative parts, that's who you are. But I would also say this too, that, but you are, and I know Joe agrees with this, that's who you are, but you're also more than that.
Yes.
You're the overcoming of that. You're
Yes.
the in the struggle of that. You're that stuff is happening, but you're still resilient, or you're still the grit, you're still unfragile, you're trying to become unfragile. When people go through very difficult, trying times, they're more inspiring to people than ever before. To be happy when everything is going well, that's cool to be known as a happy person then. But when things aren't going so well, when the stuff happens,
Right.
when the stuff hits the fan,
Yeah.
and you can still get up and continue to try to move forward, that's a happy that I'm talking about in Happy Life Studios. So that's who you are. Even the negative, right? But you are also more than that. And part of life is that lava that happens is that's the cool breeze that comes and cools it down. And over time, it's going to be hard and it's going to be solid and it's going to grow things that won't grow anywhere else. And I'm not talking about negative stuff. I'm talking about beautiful ferns that provide oxygen to the air, right? And then they take our carbon dioxide, our ugly. Anyway, there's so many ways that you can take this. But Joe, I've enjoyed this conversation. It's both of them. It's just I would recommend those that are watching it, find someone and share it. Share this on social media. Let's spread some light out there because this stuff is just. I hope it does as much for you as it did for me. But I think this stuff is really, I think it's really good, Joe. And I'm glad we're talking about it.
I'm glad you said share, Steve, not just because that helps us with our podcasting. By the way, we're not getting any money from this.
Right.
But it's the idea of your whole idea of being a happy demic, of spreading the happy,
Yeah.
right? When you receive something, whether that's through an epiphany or through education or reinterpreting your experience, don't just keep it to yourself. Just like we talked about with encouragement in the last episode, share that, because one, it's really good for you to hear yourself saying it, but also someone else will benefit, right? You get to spread the happy. You get to create the happy demic. And I love that idea of spreading the happy. And I just want to highlight something Steve said too. Is so important. There's who I am, and there's who I am becoming in every moment,
I
right?
love
There's a
it.
dynamic thing going on here. All of my experiences to date and my education and my epiphanies have brought me to this point. But my past, although it is the roadmap of how I got here, it does not determine where I go next. I am becoming something more, as Steve said. Yes, everything that's happened has brought me to this point. But my choices and my interpretation of my past and my openness to something new decides where I go from here. So
Yeah.
there's who I am and who I am becoming in every moment.
And it just dawned on me too. Talk about sharing your epiphany. This whole last hour plus that we've been talking about, and then who knows how many more minutes people are going to watch it. And maybe we're the only ones that listen. That's okay because it's done plenty for me. But this started this morning, early this morning, when a friend of mine texted me, "Are you awake?" And I said, "I am, man. I am." I think my words were, um, anyway. What's the name of the song? Anyway, okay, it was a funny thing, but he called me right away, and we started talking about a mutual friend, and he was kind of concerned about him. But then, as we're talking, he's given me this epiphany that just blew my brain, and that's what I shared with you as we're just opening up before the show even started.
Yeah,
Just how's it going, Steve? Well, this is what's on my mind, right? It's just this epiphany. They shared an epiphany, and it became huge to me. And then we've been talking about it for the last hour plus. So sharing epiphanies, sharing positivity, throwing leaves down on other people's ant paths is such a cool, amazing. It pays off. It pays off, and it makes our world a much better place. And we spread a happy demic. That just sounds good to me. Happy
I
is
love
contagious too, man.
it.
So is hope, right?
Yeah,
So is faith. So is positivity. So is contentment. I mean, we can start spreading that too. And when we spread it, you know what happens? Some of those other stems from other people's lives all of a sudden now are replanted in your positivity, in your hope, in your happy. Come on, man. It's just,
woo!
yeah,
Yes, yeah, so good. All right, so for Steve Hayes and for me, Joseph Mojo McCarthy, we are so grateful for the time that you spent with us. Any time you spent
yeah,
with us, we realize you could be doing anything else, and the world's full of many opportunities. But the fact that you spent any of your time, which is it's a precious non-renewable resource, means that you're investing in you. And we're grateful that you're here to listen, of course. But
yes,
what Steve and I truly want is we want to give. We don't want to get. We get to give, right?
yeah,
We're giving to you what we've received so that we can spread the happy demic, so that something will be planted in your life that wasn't there before. And you'll see the expression of it through your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, and your words, and see that your belief system is shifting, right? It's always shifting. So remember, when the automatic negative thoughts come marching in, as they will, it's not something to beat yourself up and say, "What's wrong with me?" It's to say, "Okay, it's happening. Now what?" Now the stuff happens. Now what?
now what?
And I can interrupt it with as simple as I am. I
I
can.
can, I will.
That's right.
I
All right.
am, I can, I will. For those that actually have the courage to try it, even if you just think it inside your head, but maybe you're in a situation you can't say it out loud, but say it, even if it's in your head, say it with us. I am,
I am.
I can,
I can.
and I will.
I will.
Yeah, you will. Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You're amazing. You're one of a kind. 1 in 7 billion, more than that. There's never been anybody like you.
That's right.
You are hugely amazing.
Yes. Yep. You are unique, and the more rare something is, the more
More
valuable.
valuable it is. Yep.
Right. So I want to ramp it up just a little bit before
Oh,
we sign
I tried to get
I
you,
know. I
man.
saw you. I
And
saw you. I'm going to ramp it up just a little bit before we sign out. And here's my challenge to you who are listening, who probably have your negative thoughts about whether or not this is even real, or if we're just full of manure. And this is the idea. I challenge you to stand in front of the mirror and look yourself. Don't look at yourself. Look into your eyes, because your eyes are the window to your soul, and tell yourself the truth that I am, I can, I will, over and over again. It's going to feel awkward at first, but what you're doing is you're rewiring your belief system. And remember, your beliefs are the stem that produces your thoughts, actions, words, and feelings. And so you're changing the stem by changing the soil and saying, I am, I can,
And you
I
know
will.
what? If you try it 4 or 5 times and it doesn't work, then just don't try it anymore. Try it in the privacy of your own room where no one else can hear you. So it's just you being embarrassed by yourself, if that even happens. But try it. I don't like it. Well, try it. Yeah, how do you know you don't like it if you don't try it? I think Joe's on to something there. Try it. If it doesn't work, you don't have to do it anymore. But if it does work, you'll be certainly happy that you took it to heart and you started doing it.
That's right. So now, Steve, what do we say? Until next time, peace out, baby. And
Peace in,
right on.
baby.
See you next time. If I can find the button to end. Okay, there it is.